So here's everything Princess Carolyn learned throughout Bojack Horseman. She has honestly always been my favorite character of this show due to the excellent portrayal of her compulsive need to help others and work rather than working on herself. It's an extremely relatable conflict that only gets further developed and elaborated on as the seasons continue, to the point where she became more textured than I ever could have thought from the first couple episodes when we met her. And by the end of the series, she has developed so much as a person and overcome so many hardships that her happy ending feels incredibly rewarding and deserved. Arguably, the largest lesson that Princess Carolyn has to internalize in this show is that she doesn't have to, and often has to accept that she can't, do everything all on her own. We see this most prevalently through her journey to become a mother, which is a core part of her arc throughout the entire show. Even with all her vying for professional accomplishments, which I'll talk a lot about in this video, we see time and time again how she does really look for something real and stable, a relationship that could carry her into the future to be able to secure that life that she believes will actually fully satisfy her, like she does with Bojack in the episode Say Anything in season 1, after he offers to take her out and shows a ton of sudden drunken interest in her, even though she knows that he is prone to patterns of intense romance only to fall off into depression and cast her away at the end of it. And also with Rutabaga in season 2, even though she is aware that he is cheating on his wife with her, she opens herself up to him and invests her emotional health in their relationship, believing that they could have a stable future. But since both of them result in heartache and pain, Bojack leaving for his own journey with Herb, and Rutabaga going back to his wife, since every single time she opens herself up even a little bit she's struck back down by reality, she resolves once again to make herself happy only through her career, to forge ahead as an agent without looking back and earn quick satisfaction from small career wins. But we also see that this doesn't really fully complete her, as at the end of the aforementioned episode, as she looks out at the coast, she feels rather empty. I'll elaborate on this more later. And in season 3, with her career in the most busy period of her entire life due to her distracting from her personal failures with professional success more than ever, she barely has time to even look. Even though she does make a connection with a handsome mouse, Ralph, she still feels tied to her business. Having been hurt so many times in the past, she struggles to make that leap, especially considering the fact that she is still trying to get her agency off the ground in the first place. I do believe that Judah helps her begin to break out of her shell here, not only setting up those dates, albeit kind of on a misunderstanding, but also encouraging her to allow him to take a larger role in the company, to share her work and delegate, so that it isn't all on her own shoulders. It's a start, at the very least. But when she loses it all, she finally has the time to consider what is actually next for her life, what she has been putting off, and make that step toward Ralph, eventually moving to start their own family. However, moving on past that next step is more difficult than she could have ever anticipated, as she and Ralph struggle to conceive a child. She's even kind of mocked by different people for wanting to try, like Vanessa Gecko or even her own doctor. I just like that guy.
How old are your kids now?
I don't have any children.
Oh, well, it'll happen. You're still... Anyway.
What do you recommend?
Have you considered impregnating a younger woman?
But it is definitely emblematic of how society treats people who make the decision to start a family perhaps later than the age you're supposed to make it, which I think is generally way too young anyway. And even after a glimmer of hope appears through Filbert, she ends up losing the child, and it's here that we really feel the depth of this issue, as when Ralph suggests they look into other options such as surrogacy or adoption, Princess Carolyn will not hear of it. She wants to continue trying, to continue going through these extremely painful losses over and over again, because she feels that she was made to do so. That because her mother was able to easily have so many children, even though she didn't particularly appreciate them, she should be able to achieve this for herself, as she actually desperately wants them and would care for them. However, sometimes reality can just be flat out unfair, and it just isn't something she will be able to do on her own. Timing, health, circumstances, they've unfortunately combined to block this path for her, and there's really no way to force her way onto it. It takes her a while to reckon with this, even separating from Ralph because of his suggestion to get help from others, and for some other reasons that I'll get into later as well, then sinking into a deep depression, drinking her days away and not even finding any joy in her work, as we are so used to seeing from her. But Todd is able to sort of jolt her back to reality, and remind her that if she wants to achieve any sort of happiness, she needs to go out and seek it. That succumbing to the grief and sadness all to hold up the belief that you can do it all on your own is a mistake, and will ultimately result in her missing out on everything she wants. It's then that she is able to finally begin to accept help from others in this endeavor, to go to an adoption agency and truly put some trust and faith into other people besides herself, instead of trying to fix everything on her own. And you know, as much as this place that she goes to kinda sucks and scams her out of a lot of money, which is good commentary, they do lead her to what she's always wished for at the end of the day. They introduce her to Sadie, and although it is Princess Carolyn's own ability to empathize with her that actually secures that ability to adopt Ruthie, her choosing to get this aid led her to attain what she wanted, and I appreciate that they depict that along with the system's flaws. Nothing's perfect. And honestly, by the end of the series, she has become much more adept at delegation. Her and Judah work as more partners in everything they do, taking care of Ruthie and making sure that both of them spend adequate time with her, as well as allowing them both to engage in the careers that bring them joy. They take care to show you how Princess Carolyn takes time off to be with her and her partner, and places a ton of importance on both her work and her personal relationships. That balance and ability to organize her time such that she maximizes her own potential for happiness shows a ton of growth in her ability to trust in other people and build a true community that can uplift and support her while she goes after the lifestyle that she has always wanted. She has friends that help her, a partner that shares the workload, and enough time for herself to be able to really feel complete in all aspects of life. It's not as if it's cluttered, crammed, or stressed anymore. She feels relaxed as things are as they should be. But I appreciate that they also show that it is still difficult for her to let go of that I can do it all myself mentality. In the finale, she tells Bojack that she feels it is a part of her, and that she isn't her if she allows someone to take care of her. Now, as the finale well establishes, she is grown enough to be able to take the leap and marry Judah anyway. This is a fictional scenario where Bojack has to convince her to do so, which she didn't need, but I believe these are still legitimate fears of hers that speak well about how far she's come, and how development doesn't equal a complete monumental change right away where she didn't even think about this anymore. I'm sure over time, Princess Carolyn will learn to allow Judah to care for her more as a reflex, a habit, but she's still working on it. We only knew her from 2014 to 2020, and even in that period, she made a massive leap in being able to accept aid from other people. Another really difficult lesson that played an extremely important role in the rest of her life is that she is not responsible for other people's recovery. She doesn't have to help everyone around her, especially if it drags her down in the process. When she's a teenager, she's the only sibling that remains with her mother. One of her brothers is in rehab, and the others aren't even really mentioned, supposedly just drifting away and losing contact with them. And she is the youngest, but keep in mind it's of a litter, so they were all born around the same time. She's the only one, though, who stayed, covering for their mother daily at work when she was too drunk, taking care of her when she didn't take care of herself, and ultimately enduring her verbal abuse day in and day out, because she feels the need to fix her, to look after her. She felt responsible for her own mother, even though she dreams of a life at UCLA, a life creating movies and stories like the Amelia Earhart tale that inspired her as a child. But it's extremely hard for her to just leave, especially considering her mother repeatedly implores her to stay or tries to crush her own dreams, even begging her to defer for a year, which would undoubtedly become 2, then 3 years, right before she boards the plane to leave. Being raised in this type of household where she had to prop everything up caused this inherent drive inside of her to prop them up, as well. She is finally able to leave and say goodbye to her mother once and for all, but carries that need with her even as she travels away. I always wonder if there's a bit of regret deep down within Princess Carolyn about leaving her mother. We don't get much context about her relationship and her family. She never really talks to her siblings in the show, like, at all. And we never get any indication that Princess Carolyn saw Cutie Cutie after she boarded that plane to LA. I feel like she knew that if she ever decided to go back to them, any of them, she would fall into those same patterns and feel the need to take care of them and dedicate her time to helping them out. And so a clean break was really the only way that she was able to emotionally handle it. However, that left her with this sort of unfinished feeling inside. She never got closure. A small bit of wonder was always in her about what she could have done. A fantasy about the happy ending that she might have had if she had just tried a little harder, stuck around a little bit longer. And I believe this is why, in her later years, even apart from her family, she still falls into this pattern of feeling this requirement to repair the damage in those around her, and is often drawn to extremely broken people. Because we see it time and time again throughout the show itself, mainly with Bojack. As I stated earlier, they have a long, winding relationship with a ton of baggage attached. But no matter how badly he may hurt her, she always finds her way back to him, wanting to help him, wanting to guide him to be that person she believes that he could be. She often pushes him, prods him, and from his perspective, can be a little bit too critical of him when she's trying to get him to do something, or do something for himself, as we see in Best Thing That Ever Happened.
Is it any wonder I don't want to be around you? All you do is tell me what a terrible person I am.
Even after trying to drive away from the restaurant, after Bojack resolves to set her free from him, to cut that tether that pulls her in when he needs a rock or a shoulder to cry on, she turns back.
Don't go back to the restaurant, Princess Carolyn, just keep driving away.
Ugh. She can't bring herself to just leave him behind completely. Even after she learns the depths of his mistakes, she resolves to aid him in the process of rehabilitating himself and his public image, because she wants desperately to see him succeed, to see him be better, to finally have a long-standing relationship in her life where she can see someone improve and perhaps make up for what she lost with her own family. I think what snaps her out of this is when Biscuits goes into intense detail about his various infractions. She resolved to be there for him and help him change, but when those mistakes are framed from the victim's perspectives, and viscerally so, and even characterize their relationship as potentially unhealthy due to his power over her, she realizes that it's not really her job to fix Bojack, and she should be doing what she wants with her time, rather than scrambling to cover up his messes for some small satisfaction. She should be spending her time with her daughter, what truly makes her feel happy and complete. This is where she finally decides not to continue driving into the ditch along with Bojack to be able to pull him out. When they meet in the finale, he is definitely in a better place, which is why she's very kind and willing to perhaps work with him again in the future, but she is also definitively split from being his emotional buffer, intent on taking care of herself and her own family first, and to allow Bojack to take care of himself. She'll be there to listen, to encourage, as any friend does, but she is done cleaning up his messes for him or trying to cover up his mistakes anymore. And I was super glad to see that portrayed before the show ended. But it isn't just for Bojack either. There are tons of examples of Princess Carolyn helping other characters in the series, mostly to make herself feel better. She states directly that it is a compulsive need that she has when her life is perhaps taking a wrong turn. Helping others helps her to feel useful, to feel stable, to harken back to how she felt when she was taking care of her mother and forget about how she left her, even though it was definitely the healthier choice for her own life. This is why she gives people jobs, works with them on projects, provides them a place to live. It's not necessarily solely out of compassion. I do believe that generosity and kindness are there, but it is also definitely to assuage her own feelings of discontent. But what's really interesting about her journey is that she also learns how to forgive others and still support them through difficult times even after moving past this need to fix people. There is a balance to be struck, and her not wanting to fall into a pattern of devoting everything to aid others rather than working on herself does not mean she can't ever help other people again. You know, you have to clarify these things because so many people on the internet take everything you say way too far in one direction. Like, please chill. Of course she can still be there for her friends, as a good peer should. All she has learned is not to disrupt her own life, to invest her happiness in the well-being of others, and to make sure that she leaves time for herself and her own emotions rather than just fervently fixing other people's problems. But she, as all of his friends do, has a very tumultuous relationship with Bojack himself, and actually spends probably the most time with him out of any other cast member that we meet. Thus, he has hurt her so many times. Like, a number of times that's difficult to count because they dated for like 14 plus years, and it was almost entirely during one of Bojack's lowest periods of his life. Considering how he treats her during the duration of the show, we can be sure that their relationship was filled with loud arguments and cruel insults. The key here is that's not all this relationship was. She says herself that she doesn't ever regret dating him, and that there were so many wonderful moments in this relationship, years of them. In fact, Princess Carolyn saw something inside of Bojack, saw who he could be, and it may be partly because of her innate desire to fix people, but I think there's a level of understanding that comes from her that is unique to her character. She truly wants the best for Bojack, and even when he hurts her, she finds her way to accepting his apology or that grand gesture, wanting to believe that that is the real Bojack and trusting her impulse that it is, which is why she works so hard to secure opportunities for him, even when her bosses encourage her to drop him as a client, as he might even harm her career in the long run as a dead weight around her ankle. But she wants to believe that she can help to make things better for him, that there is a bright future in store for him. And in season 6, as Bojack makes his journey through recovery, she is extremely supportive, wanting to join his friends and family celebrations, even though he feels he doesn't have anyone to invite due to the hurt he's caused. However, as I stated briefly earlier after the second Biscuits interview, her faith in their relationship begins to sway due to the negative characterization of it that Biscuits described that isn't really untrue, quite honestly.
You keep looking over to your manager. Can we talk about your relationship with her?
Princess Carolyn?
You dated her for 7 years?
Yes, and look, she's alive.
Did it ever get complicated, working with her while maintaining a sexual relationship?
Well, she's always been good at keeping her personal and professional lives separate.
You had sex with the president of your fan club. You had sex with your agent's assistant. You party with underage girls. You don't see a pattern here?
It's not a pattern.
But you do have power over people. And again, you abuse that power.
But even after this momentary distance in their relationship, she is still shown to be somewhat of a friend. Yes, she's perhaps not as fervent about helping him and distancing herself a bit to make sure she doesn't fall into the same patterns that I stated earlier, but she is also still kind to him, still willing to invite him to her wedding, even though it's not the actual one, it's the industry one. Although Diane and Todd are also there, so honestly, it does seem more like a personal event to me. Maybe their real wedding was super private, like for just them and like a couple other people, because Princess Carolyn does have an awfully lot of personal friends here along with industry big leagues. And regardless of the type of the wedding, she dances with Bojack and shares a lovely intimate moment with him anyway, while also giving him a bit of hope for the future. She cautions him not to jump too far into anything with how fresh it all is, but she is still willing to help him if he ever does get back into the entertainment business. I do believe that "I can recommend some excellent people" line was a little half joke about herself, because she does seem content with the idea of maintaining a friendship with this Bojack in the future. She's not going to go head over heels to save him, of course, but she'll guide him in the right direction, try to ensure as a close friend that he's on the right track as much as a friend can without dragging themselves down with him. It's heartwarming to see this relationship potentially continue into the far future, even through all of those tough times, that because these two are shown to care for one another, with Bojack even admitting that he loves her at one point, they can forge a positive future for their relationship. Of course, they have to work on themselves first, but Princess Carolyn's ability to show some compassion toward Bojack and patience for him to be better is definitely admirable. To know that he is trying to be better than he was yesterday, and trusting him to hopefully provide the support that any human needs to actually be better. I believe they did a wonderful job striking a balance with Princess Carolyn, where she does indeed place boundaries for herself between her and Bojack, but still is able to resolve to be with him for the future. Not that it's wrong to distance yourself from him if you emotionally require that. Another very critical piece of wisdom that she picked up is that professional achievements cannot compensate for emotional difficulties or heartache. Whenever she was trying to distract herself from her own unsatisfying personal life, she sunk everything into her career, whether that be working for Vim, starting Vigor, or restarting Vigor as a management company. She loved her job as an agent. After all, she'd been dreaming about becoming one and making it big in the industry for over a decade in Hollywood. There is definite joy to be found for her in this career path, or at least the one it develops into as a manager, even though the show jokes about them being basically the same thing. However, this series does well to illustrate how only professional accomplishments will not lead to a fulfilling life. I don't believe that every person needs to settle down with a partner or have a family. That's not at all what I'm saying, but solely placing all of your eggs into one basket is never really a good idea. Because we as humans, or cats, ultimately need more than ambition and drive in our lives to be full. Like I mentioned before, in Say Anything, Princess Carolyn works extremely hard to succeed in a very cutthroat environment. And while she does slip back into romance with Bojack for a bit, her heartbreak causes her to run back to that natural workaholic nature anyway. And at the end of the day, she feels rather empty after the adrenaline of beating Vanessa Gecko fades and she's given even a moment to process what has happened in the past couple days. She looks out over the coastline and hears her phone chime that it's her birthday and realizes that another year has gone by without her really accomplishing what she wants, while Vanessa Gecko frankly gets to go back home to her loving family. We need hobbies, ways to relax, ways to decompress, friends, confidants, family that are not just working to be able to be truly healthy. Firstly, because if you constantly force your brain to work without reprieve or any sort of passive activity, you're going to eventually burn out. It's just not possible. But also because if you never give yourself time to think about something besides the work, you're never going to be able to actually fully process and understand what you might be feeling. And without that time to breathe, those feelings of stress, frustration, and exhaustion will only build and build until they materialize in unexpected and unfortunate ways. Princess Carolyn across the series often becomes rather cruel to others when she sinks herself into her work, like when she doesn't recommend Laura for a promotion, even though she definitely deserves it, and then lies to her about it to secure a deal for a new film. Just not very nice, or like the Princess Carolyn that we know, or how she abandons Todd in prison after she helped him stir up the David Boreanaz house, or when she tries to manipulate the assistants in season 6. There's lots of examples of her compromising her morality to further her own career, to chase that high of success that is the only thing that will make her feel good at certain times. However, thankfully, in season 6, she has developed enough to realize what she is doing wrong, and to bring Judah back to save the assistance movement so that they are able to get the basic rights that they deserve. It's a great way to signal how, because she has a more well-rounded lifestyle and is able to really keep in tune with her sense of self, she's able to jolt herself out of these marathons of cruelty that can accompany her career in the entertainment industry, even if she still does enjoy that career. But another part of this concept I really enjoyed seeing outlined was in Best Thing That Ever Happened, where Bojack asks PC why she even is an agent if it literally makes her miserable most of the time. And the best reason she can come up with is that she's just really good at it. That's never a requirement to do something. I feel like there's this really weird stigma surrounding talent that suggests when you show an affinity for a certain skill, it means it's your destiny to utilize it. It's not. And just because someone is good at something doesn't mean that they automatically enjoy it.
I'm good at driving sober, but I don't relish the opportunity.
Succeeding and being talented does not always result in personal fulfillment. It certainly can, but being gifted alone is never a good reason to do something. You need passion to guide the talent and focus it, or else it's just going to feel like a chore. And listen, as much as they joke about managers and agents basically doing the exact same thing, I do believe there is at least a subtle enough difference in the scope of those jobs to provide Princess Carolyn that satisfaction that she always wished for. She found a way to utilize her talents in a different, more desirable way for herself, even if the series may joke around about how nobody can tell the difference between the two careers. Managers can produce. That is the biggest change that I noticed, and honestly, I think that makes a world of difference for PC herself. She enjoys creating those stories, putting the directors and actors together like a puzzle to create the best tale possible. And like I mentioned before, it's due to how these very same stories inspired her to get out of her abusive relationship with her mother. She wants a world filled with beautiful, heartwarming, positive, uplifting tales for her own daughter to watch, and for other children to watch and grow up on, to be able to become more well-rounded, compassionate people. I also think the show does a wonderful job to illustrate that she understands these ideas, specifically in the episode Angela, where when given the opportunity for her dream studio and imagining the future, she only really wants to be with Judah. She even walks away from her work to go support his band and feels rather happy with her decision on the way there. Her cute little smile is so heartwarming, as she knows she's following what will truly help her to be more content in the long run. She knows now that professional achievements feel great, and she does love her work and needs to work to feel satisfied, but she also knows that she shouldn't place it above her personal life and emotional well-being. And that is such a wonderful piece of growth to see for this character specifically. Another great lesson we get from Princess Carolyn is that sometimes one of the great loves of your life might still not be one of the people you're meant to end up with, or the one who is best for your own emotional growth. Most obviously, this is expressed through her relationship with Bojack, specifically when he asks her why she still works with him and tries to help him after she knows what he's done in the past, and after he's fallen backwards so many times. Her message about finding a specific sort of love only when you're young and stupid definitely has some truth to it, though I probably shouldn't speak like I have any experience given how I am currently in that young and stupid period. But she's not saying that she'll never find love again, just that Bojack and her had a special relationship that will remain in her heart forever. That kind of love that she got when they were younger, she might never get to feel again. She spent a good deal of her life with this man, and there were definitely positive reasons for that. It wasn't just because she wanted to fix or help him. She states in Best Thing That Ever Happened that there were wonderful moments to their relationship that she will cherish for the rest of her life. Beautiful showcases of love from him that still mean a great deal with her. But ultimately, what she wanted out of her future was not feasible while being with him, as he was not willing to seriously commit to her or the idea of a family. He just wasn't able to make that leap, and wasn't in the right place for it yet either. So they had to break up if Princess Carolyn ever wanted to be fully at peace with her choices. It isn't for lack of love, it's just a mismatch of priorities, and a need for Bojack to be better on a timeline that isn't really realistic for him. But this can also be seen with Ralph Stilton, the mouse, who was a rather good match for her and provided her happiness for a very long while. But ultimately, a difference in opinion and worldview sometimes gets in the way. As we know, the real ending point is after Princess Carolyn's miscarriage, when he suggests that they get help to obtain a child. But honestly, I do think there was a disconnect in their relationship before he spoke up about other options. Although he did stand up for her to his parents, I do believe Princess Carolyn did harbor feelings of self-doubt from the situation regarding his parents and the extremely offensive traditions they observed for the Feast of Saint Squeaky. She states in Ruthie that she feels as if she's the difficult choice for him, that he wants things to be easy for them when she knows that it won't be for her. And at the time, she's determined to pursue that more strenuous path that involves more pain and heartache. I'm not saying she's right to, but this is what I believe caused the end of this relationship. And when they meet again by chance later in season 5, Ralph sort of tries to decide what happens next for her, inserting himself into the scenario that doesn't really have anything to do with him anymore. I think he kind of scares Princess Carolyn away here and cements her belief that they don't work together as a couple. I'm not sure if he took things much slower and more patiently that he would have dated her once again for sure, but I I certainly think it's a possibility. Either way here, Princess Carolyn decides that they do not work. That his life of being given everything on a silver platter and her life of having to work for everything she's ever had ultimately don't really combine well, as much spark as there was between them. It's something that can happen. Sometimes you're just too different. You see the world completely separately, and there's not much to be done to make those worldviews connect. But I also think, like I said before, a lot of their breakup has to do with timing. Ralph makes a step forward when she's not looking for one, and kind of scares her away. And also Princess Carolyn not wanting to accept help, but then being able to do that later. Sometimes that's just how life works out. And the last lesson that I want to discuss is that when you get what you wish for, it is so much different than you always perceived it would be. As much as I've spoken about Princess Carolyn's journey to motherhood and how positive it is for her in the end, one of the best things this series does is not portray everything as sunshine and rainbows as soon as she was able to adopt a child. In the new Client, we get a very detailed depiction of how chaotic new motherhood can be, and how it isn't at all what many expect getting into becoming a parent. PC and her baby don't form this instant connection as soon as she sees her, as many pieces of media depict when a mother meets her child. For much of the episode, Princess Carolyn is pretty much going through the motions, completely exhausted with the process, and not feeling any of that fulfillment that she really expected to feel from this new path. She thought this was the happy ending and that everything beyond it would be smooth sailing. And now this is something she no longer has any choice in. This is her child now. It is her job to take care of it no matter what anymore. This is exactly why you have to be careful what you wish for, as many fairy tales caution us. Consider exactly what it might be like. Read about other people's experiences and learn the reality of the situation before you choose to embark on it. You need to be absolutely sure. Luckily, Princess Carolyn is able to bond with her new baby and find an actual name for her, Ruthie. It's a very sweet and tender moment that was honestly a huge relief to see after an extremely stressful episode where their relationship was very uncertain. And even with her businesses and professional life, she really discovers that she can't just blindly hop into new opportunities without fully considering what comes next. She wanted to be an agent for decades before actually being given the opportunity, working under one and dreaming that one day she would get the chance. But when she's actually there, it's not as fun as she imagined it would be. As I've spoke a lot about in this video, her being an agent was not actually the career she wanted in the end. It didn't end up fulfilling her, and in reality caused her a lot of pain. Her move at the end of season 2 is great to exclude rutabaga, but she starts with very little understanding about how to run a business, or what that takes, like with her tomato making tomato sandwich analogy. Judah is able to help her after a little bit, but she does struggle with the major decision making, and does not even feel as happy as she expected in this new leadership role. And eventually, because it wasn't ultimately a right fit, the business has to file for bankruptcy. On her second try with management, though I do believe it's only slightly different, she succeeds because she's much more willing to be flexible with her vision and understand that it's not always going to turn out how she expects. She doesn't have to control every little bit of it. She needs to let Judah in on the major decision making, trust him to make the right choices when it comes to the business's best interest. Ultimately, she doesn't know everything, where the biggest mistake in her agency was her pretending that she could barrel forward against Vanessa Gecko with the whole Jelly Bell and Flight of the Pegasus choice. This time, she is more able to accept other people's ideas and understand that she has still a lot to learn, even if this is the right and final path for her. Overall, Princess Carolyn is probably my favorite character in the series, if you couldn't tell from this video yet. She is so excellently characterized, elaborated on, and developed to feel like such a full, real, living woman, even though, you know, she's not a woman. She's still a cat. I keep making that mistake. Her journey through workaholism and her escaping the cruelty of the entertainment industry was honestly a highlight of the series for me, as well as her forgiving and extremely loyal nature to Bojack. It's refreshing in a show where their relationships are tested so heavily, but I am also glad that she was able to establish boundaries for herself, because that is equally important. She's a very balanced character by the end of this series, and while I do think that she has more developing to do, as none of us are ever really done, she has come such a long way in just 6 years, and because of that, I'm so confident that she will move on to a bright future, and has all of the lessons that she needs to make the right decisions in the future, even if she does struggle. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support me further, you can go to patreon.com/PosiTVty, that's PosiTVty. There you get all these videos before YouTube does. You can see them before I cut anything out, and you can tell me just what you want to see on the channel and help me edit my videos before they go up. It's a great way for y'all to get involved in the process because I really do trust your opinions. But anyway, thank you for being here at all, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. You deserve it, you hard worker. Look at you go. You're doing amazing. Do you see how hard you're trying? I applaud you, sir.